Welcome to Small Spark Theory. This podcast is designed as a collection of thoughts, ideas, and practical tips on using marginal gains to help your agency new business endeavours. Small Spark Theory is created and hosted by me, Lucy Mann of Gunpowder Consulting. Welcome back to Small Spark Theory. I hope you've had a good summer and you're all feeling fired up for that last real new business push of the year. I know for a lot of you, the months now from October and November are a key time to reach out to prospects and some of your existing clients before the Christmas madness sets in. So, I hope it's going to be a successful prospecting window for you. Now, I was thinking about the series so far and the fact that actually so far we've been talking to a whole range of experts on particular elements of the new business process or focusing on particular skills or techniques that support the new business and marketing process. But this month we're going to change it up a little bit, and I'd been thinking it would be really good to involve some real live new business people. So those people whose day-to-day job is managing new business in an agency. So this month I'm delighted to welcome Jemima Monies from Adam and Eve. Now, Adam and Eve, I've just read, are actually 10 years old. Is it this year?
We are, 10 years young, actually.
10 years young,
yes.
Sorry, yes. And you, if I'm right, you've been there for 5 years.
I have. I celebrated my 5th anniversary last week.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And for the last 4 years, Adam and Eve have been Campaign Agency of the Year.
I have, yeah.
Congratulations.
Obviously, it's all down to me.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. That's why you're here.
Yeah, exactly.
So, joking aside, I got in touch because you wrote an article for Campaign earlier this year, why new business leaders need to fight harder to be heard. And there were a few themes in that piece that really struck a chord with me, and I thought it would be really useful, given your experience, to come along and have a chat. And I have a feeling that some of your insights from your new business experience will be really helpful for our listeners. You've been working in new business and marketing roles for a number of agencies. It'd be really useful if you could just give our listeners a bit of background on how you got to where you are today.
Okay. So I did an English degree at uni and always knew that I wanted to start off in publishing, writing, because I loved writing. My dad was actually a publisher and he got me some work experience at Haymarket, which publishes Campaign magazine. And the work experience was actually on Marketing magazine, which has since been merged into Campaign. So I had 2 weeks there and I wrote an article. They were doing some anniversary issues, so I wrote an article on the top 20 ads of all time. So like Smash Martians, Levi's Laundrette, that sort of thing, which I thought was really interesting and might sort of gave me a flavour for the industry. And then they offered me a job as editorial assistant. So obviously I jumped at that. So as well as giving out the post, I got the opportunity to do lots of writing and meeting agencies. In my first month, one of the top agencies took us to Gordon Ramsay.
Wow.
And I was just like, wow, this is amazing. Agency life is so glamorous. So I spent 3 years there, 3 amazing years there, learned so much about the industry. I worked with Jeremy Lee and Nicola Kemp and Alex Brownsell, who are all still at Campaign. So that's been amazing in that starting off there, I now have relationships with these journalists that on the other side of the fence I know, and that really helps in my job. But after about 3 years, I thought I'd quite like to be doing what I was writing about or what I saw was agency life. I obviously didn't have a clue exactly what it would be like until I got there. And at the same time, I decided I wanted to go and work abroad for a bit. So I went over to Australia, Sydney, and had a few meetings with some agency heads that agency people in the UK had put me in contact with. But given I had no experience, it was proving quite hard to find where I would fit in. So in fact, I worked for Haymarket over there, and then I'd actually met my husband just before I left. So I came back mainly because of him. But I'd sort of done my piece over there. So I found myself back in London without a job So I wrote a list of the top 3 or 4 agencies that I'd like to work for, and they'd been agencies that I had covered. So when we were at marketing, we all covered a bunch of agencies, and those were the agencies that we built up relationships with and met up with and wrote about and got stories from. And MCBD, an agency called MCBD, which is Miles Calcraft, Bringshaw Duffy, were one of my agencies and top of my list. They were about 70 people off Charlotte Street.
Yes.
And luckily, they were looking for some support in the sort of marketing and PR side of things. They had the brilliant Nina Jasinski as their marketing director, but they needed someone which had some PR experience. And obviously, having been at Marketing Magazine, I was ideal, So that's where I started. And that was fantastic. It was quite a small, sort of 70 of us in a townhouse in London. I'm still friends with all the people that I sat with, and it was just a great insight into agency life and what it was really about. And I still got to see all my marketing friends because they were all journalists that we kept in touch with. And from there I went to JWT, where I was there for a couple of years, and then on to Adam and Eve.
One of the things that you talked about in your article was about when you were originally writing at marketing, and there were some really big names who were new business directors. Everybody knew in the industry who all the new business directors were. They had a profile. I think you said, you had your go-to list of people that you would talk to, and they had insights into what was going on. They were the people to talk to. It doesn't quite feel the same anymore, does it? Why do you think that is?
It's a good question. I've been thinking about it a lot on the way over. I think new business has become much more functional these days. With the rise of procurement, there's a lot more form filling to fill in. The process is much longer. What we deliver in a pitch is not just a few scripts and a print ad, a print campaign that it was sort of 15, 20 years ago. It's everything on the customer journey and more than that. And I guess the press and the industry as a whole haven't really helped. There's no campaign top 10 new business leads. We don't get asked to comment as much as other disciplines, even in areas which are specific to us. So I went to a pitch process panel recently, and there was no one with a new business remit on the panel. They were agency CEOs, which of course are qualified to talk about this, but surely you'd have at least one new business person whose whole job is the pitch process. You'd want their perspective.
It's really interesting you say that, actually, because there has been so much discussion in the last 12 months, particularly around reforming the pitch process. And yet nearly all of the discussions that I've seen have been agency heads. There hasn't really been the comment from new business directors.
I totally agree. It's something that we're looking to address on the IPA New Business and Marketing Group. It's definitely top of our agenda. And so we've got a few ideas on how we can go about doing that. But essentially, we just need to get a voice back. New business as a discipline touches every part of agency life, from finance through to account management, strategy, creative, everything in between. So, a good and healthy new business team or output is a really true reflection of an agency's health. So why wouldn't you not ask for their opinion at those right times?
And also, I think not having representation of that role and those opinion leaders in the press, it gives a misleading view on what really happens in agencies. And I truly believe, having been in agency, new business and marketing for more or less my whole career, it's a fantastic job. It's a really fantastic job, and I would love to see it as a destination career option for graduates, for marketing graduates. But there just isn't that profile.
Yeah, exactly. And that's another thing we talk about on the IPA group all the time, is how do we get more people, more talent, wanting to work in new business. So when we get grads and interns, they either want to work in account management or creative. And that's probably because of that's all they know. That they're the only jobs that they really know exist. But also, how do we get account people thinking, oh, I might like to jump ship or at least spend a couple of years in new business, because in fact it wouldn't be a step back, it'd be a way of accelerating their career, having spent 2 years in new business. So that's the whole talent pool thing is definitely an issue.
Yeah. And it's interesting, you also pointed out in your article that some of the most interesting agency startups in recent times have been led by new business people.
People who love new business, whether they were new business director or not. I mean, Helen Cowcroft was new business director quite young. She founded MCBD and Lucky Generals. James Murphy, our group CEO, he sort of had the most phenomenal career, and he was and still is the most phenomenal new business person. And there's a whole stream of people.
Yeah. Where do you think the opportunities for marginal gains are that you could recommend to our listeners? So whether it's somebody who's looking to develop their role, their new business role in an agency, or if it's an agency head who needs to think about how they can bring on their new business person through the agency, what would your advice be?
If you're working in new business, you're already in a really good position in terms of profile. You're working with management day in and day out. I always say to people that the leadership and management teams are like your clients.
Brilliant.
They're the people that you work with on a regular basis, that you have to impress, that you have to promote. So from that point of view, you're already in a really good position within the agency and having a profile within the agency. I'm quite a nosy person, so I like to know what's going on at all times. So the job's perfect for me because you have total visibility on everything that's going on the financial side through to how you're redecorating your reception area.
Yeah, I love that you said nosy, because people over the years have asked me what it takes to be a good new business person, and I've always said actually it's fine for me because I'm quite nosy, and I think that works from an internal perspective, knowing what's going on in the agency, but also that's why you're good with clients, I guess, because you're asking questions about their business, what's going on in their business, and that's why you're good at building relationships.
Yeah.
Nosy's good. I always think that nosy's good.
Yeah, and I think the best new business people are people that have skills that span a whole agency. So they're good account people, they're strategic, they're creative, they're good with the numbers, they're good project managers, they're good producers. So in doing all that, you touch every part of agency life. So everyone knows you from the security person because you're briefing them on some clients coming in, through to the CFO because you're working with them on fee proposals. So I think just being in new business is a really good way of having a good profile within an agency. And, there's quite a small pool of us. So it's quite easy to move up the ladder quicker. You haven't got hierarchy of within the account management department where you go from account exec to account manager to senior account manager to business director. There's no real set structure, and every agency is different. So you can carve your own path if you're dedicated and that's what you want.
Give us an example of a piece of new business that you're most proud of winning.
There was a period, I think a couple of years ago, where we pitched for Waitrose, Lloyds Bank and Aviva pretty much at the same time.
Wow.
And, in other agencies I've worked for, you'd just be, those would be 3 across the year.
Yes.
And it was so intense. We were there 5 days a week, all night, weekends. But it was amazing and we won them all, which was incredible. So that period in sort of the last 5 years really stuck with me. But also 3 very different bits of business. So literally every person in the agency was involved in those wins.
Yeah.
So we really could celebrate as an agency and generally feel like everyone had a part to play.
Yes, yeah. So that's some kind of winning streak you had there. And I guess there's something to be said for, a sense of momentum as well when you're winning accounts in that way.
Yeah, momentum's key to new business, but not just in terms of pitching and keeping people excited and, wanting to go above and beyond their day job, but also it's a general feeling you have in the agency, which is key to producing amazing creative work as well. So during that period, although we pitched and won those big accounts, we also produce some amazing creative work at the same time.
Yeah. And I guess that creates another momentum of its own. So the more fantastic work that you have out there, that attracts new business opportunities. And then I guess it's about how you embed that new business culture in the agency. I mean, because that's something that can't be underestimated.
Yeah, so it's really important to have a positive, healthy new business culture. So, some people see new business as a dirty word, but in order to keep that momentum up and keep people interested and going above and beyond, because, working on a pitch, they have to do alongside their client work. So it doesn't involve investment, beyond the day job. You have to keep them excited and want to, positive about the new business experience. So I get, more and more people are emailing me asking to work on pitches, or really excited when they're put on one, like it's seen as like, quite an honour. And I think that's really important to have that culture in an agency.
Lovely. I'm wondering what your top 3 tips might be for somebody coming into a new business role in an agency.
So my first tip would be make friends with everyone in the agency, whatever level, whatever department, because at some point you will need them.
Yeah. Good advice. Okay.
Number 2, be all over the details. So you're essentially your agency's brand guardian during the pitch process, from the flowers in reception all the way through to the quality of the work that you're presenting. Everything should feel on your agency's brand, as well as answering the client brief.
Yeah.
And finally, don't be afraid to voice your opinion. I know that can be hard if you're sitting in a room with all of your management team and you're just starting out on the job, but new business offer a different perspective, and that's why you're in that role, and your voice does matter.
Good advice. So you've worked with lots of our industry greats, both in your agency roles and in your work at marketing. I'm sure you've been given loads of advice along the way. I'm wondering what's the piece of advice that stuck with you?
I think in new business specifically, leave hierarchy at the door. So I'm still there at 3:00 in the morning the night before pitch, along with the account team and management. Our CEO and our CSO are there sitting in the edit suite, directing changes to films. There's no hierarchy when you work on a pitch. Everyone needs to muck in together.
Great.
And again, that's what creates such a lovely sense of feeling, and
everyone's pulling together.
Yeah, exactly.
Great.
And just a general piece of advice is don't be afraid to move around the industry until you find an agency that you want to call home. I don't mean literally every month, but when you're young, do get a sense for the small agencies and the big agencies, because you do learn a lot in doing that.
Yeah.
And then hopefully you'll finally find somewhere that you want to sort of bed yourself in for a while.
Yeah, because it is about the combination of people that makes it possible.
Exactly.
Lastly, I'd like to know if you've got a favourite book, a TED Talk, or an inspiring figure that you can share with us for the listeners.
I wish I had time to read. I don't anymore. No, I was thinking about this and I couldn't name one person.
Mm-hmm.
I've worked for some amazing people in all my agencies, and being in new business, again, you have access to all those senior people. So I could probably reel off a list of 10 people that have been really inspiring, and they're mainly people that are brilliant at new business and have taught me all the things that we've just talked about.
Okay. So lastly, let's talk about ice cream.
Ice cream, my favourite topic. My husband has an ice cream business in Cornwall. His family have a dairy farm in Zena, which is right down the bottom. It's like a 6-hour drive away. And about 10 years ago, they diversified and started making ice cream. The company's called Moo Made of Zena. They have 2 ice cream parlours, one in St Ives and one in Porthtowan. So I help him out on sort of social media, and we did a new website recently. So it's quite fun to have that on the side. And he spends most of his time down there in the summer, and he's up here in the winter, and we go down there a lot. But yeah, it's nice to have a sort of second job, so to speak, totally different from pitching. And
I was going to say a lovely contrast from the cut and thrust of new business pitching.
Yeah.
And I'd imagine it's been a really, really good summer for ice cream.
It has indeed, yeah.
Thank you so much, Jemima. You've been a brilliant guest. Thank you for your words of wisdom, and good luck with your next pitch.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you for listening. Do join in the conversation on Twitter at Gunpowder Tweets using the hashtag #SmallSparkTheory, and we'll be back next month when we'll be talking about client experience. See you then. You have been listening to Small Spark Theory, brought to you by Gunpowder Consulting. Join in the conversation on Twitter at Gunpowder Tweets, hashtag #SmallSparkTheory. The podcast is created and hosted by me, Lucy Mann. Our editor is Claire Aban, and our producer is Isabel Jarvis. Music is provided by Juke Deck, available at jukedeck.com. For more information and to download further episodes, head to our blog at gunpowderconsulting.com. And if you like what you hear, head to iTunes and leave us a star.